What's up, everybody? It's your boy Siphon T C G, and I'm coming at you, coming back from the calling Indianapolis. It's been a few days since then. I've been able to rewind. I've had work, and it was quite a weekend, man. It was quite a weekend. Um, I don't 100% know if I'm going to be putting up a vlog. I did record some footage from it, but we'll address that in a different video. You guys are here to see the Control Dash feedback thing. I don't really know what I'm going to be calling it. And I do want to apologize for my voice. I, again, just had a whole weekend of flesh and blood and content, and it was an experience. So I'm going to try my best to power through it. So right here I have the deck I took to the calling Indianapolis, and then I will have some stuff over there that I'm considering. I'll quickly go over how the tournament was, but again, there will be a dedicated video talking strictly about it. I piloted this to a 4-3 finish at the calling Indianapolis. You needed a 5-2 to make day 2, and due to one round of me being, I don't really know what the proper word to be is, but I didn't pray properly on purpose, and once I seen how I finished the tournament, I regret deeply how I played, because this should have been an easy day 2. There should have been no question that day 2, given the matchup spread and how I was playing. But I do think that tournament specifically did teach me that it is okay to have fun. It is okay to meme every once in a while. But when you're at a competition like this, the time for playing, the time for jokes is gone. You travel a lot of miles. You take time off of work. You use a lot of money. A lot of time gone to do this, and if you want to call yourself a competitive player, you should be acting as such. And I did not, and it cost me a round and a day 2. And then looking at the day 2 field, I think there is a very strong chance I have a very high placing or even top 8. But again, we'll go through that in a later video. So here's the deck. Here's the equipment suite. We have Achilles Federators, Arcanite Skullcap, Find the Spring Tunic, Ironhide Gauntlet, Ironhide Legs, Norman Gloves, Pistol, and Model. Going into this tournament, I felt like these were the strongest options in each slot that I could use. There were some considerations for Norman Robe here, just to increase my AB to AB5, so that not even Aether Ice Vein Red could hit me and do any damage to me. But I just think the value that you get out of Tunic is fine, and AB4 for the most part is strictly just manageable. Again, because if we're only trying to stop one spell, which is Red Activation Red, and I'm pitching 2 blues anyway, well now anyway I just take 1, and the 2 floating I just pay. So I don't actually see there's no actual reason for the AB5, and Tunic is strictly just good. Going into the main deck, we 3 Command and Conquer, pretty standard. Good red attack to mix in. It's also a popper. I found myself actually just actively using this as an attack rather than like a tool to attack an arsenal, because 6 damage is just good, and for the majority of the game it is just strictly more damage than using your pistols. And because you're never really going to deck out outside of very niche situations, you don't really care to throw this, and you have things like Remembrance to bring it back. Favorite scene, just generic D-Rack, pretty good, blocks 4 damage. Opt 1, which is very nice for smoothing over a deck. We have Red Healing Bomb. This is the deck, at least in this meta, that originated the Healing Bomb. And it's just strictly game 3 life. Pretty good. There's actually been a hot debate. I do want to kind of talk about this. Recently, and I'm going to mix this in with Sigil of Solace here, that these left game cards are no different than just a block card that could actually do something. I'm here to tell you that is strictly wrong. Healing, and I actually might make a video on this, healing in this game actually has a very unique property, especially if it is something at instant speed like a Sigil of Solace or occasionally an Oasis Respite. The ability to make your opponent overextend is pretty good, and obviously if you are going first in the game, something like a Healing Bomb just taking you up to 43, 46, it affects a lot in the game. Now the only downside to this card is it's a block 2. If it was block 3, it would just be broken, or if it was a different pitch caller. But Healing Bomb is not something I plan on taking my deck anytime soon, unless I'm obviously given a good reason to. Imperial Warhorn was a card I tested out for this weekend, seeing that I was suspecting a lot of Briar, Icelander, and Dash. And I only actually got to use the Imperial Warhorn once, but because of that one usage, I know for a fact I am not taking out of the deck. What this actually allowed me to do, and I ended up losing this match, but it was due to some other reasons. We'll get into the other video. I was able to kill a other Dash's chamber. So they started off pistol and chamber. I killed their chamber, so they only had pistol. And they managed to scrape a turn specifically that got around this, and they were able to use their pistol multiple times, even without their chamber. But even still, killing this, killing a Channel Lake Frigid, killing a CMH. What this can do specifically against like a Briar, for example, right, is they might make an Embodiment of Lightning or a Rune Chant or something, and then just sit on it. And they might actually just sit on it. Why? Well, you choose an ally, and then they choose an aura item or a landmark they control. Well, if they're going to control one thing, being like the CMH, well, they have to destroy that. But if they control a CMH and an Embodiment of Lightning or like a Rune Chant, they can just kill the Rune Chant, kill the Embodiment of Lightning. So, there are a few ways to get around this, but for the most part, I think that this saves a lot of damage. This will net you probably 10 life in a game, depending on the hero you're going against. And I think if you look at the card in that context, I think the card's pretty good. The only downside doesn't have go again, neither effects do, but I think you're willing to be okay with that. We're still rocking the 2 in chambers. There's no way I ever go up to 3 chambers. The third chamber is just unnecessary, and the mana that you will now need to do that is just greatly. You almost always need a 12 mana hand, and realistically, if you do that, you're probably not loading items for the next turn, so your next turn is not going to be as great. 3 Oasis Respite. You're going to play Oasis Respite. It's a good card. I don't know what to tell you. 3 Plasma Purifiers. Still rocking the 3. No reason to change to this. 3 Red Sink Blow. Again, generic D-React that just blocks 4, helps us filter. No downsides there. Red Immovable. I don't know what to say about the D-Reacts, guys. They're the bread and butter of your deck, besides your pistols. Yellow Fighting Spirit. Some people were asking me why I'm not just running red, because it is strictly more damage. The reason why we're running yellow rather than red is one, the 6 is still a popper, which is the baseline of what you're wanting. Then 2, the difference between a red and a yellow, a lot of times can actually mean significant amount of damage. Let me break this scenario down to you. Let's say you start your turn, you have a counter on your pistol, but no counter on your chamber, and you have a red. Well, the only thing you can do is shoot your gun, pass, or put an item on chamber, shoot the gun, pass. Now, if you have a yellow, you can put a counter on chamber, 1 floating, shoot pistol, give go again, shoot pistol. That's 4 damage. You got an extra 2 damage out of your turn versus the 1 extra damage that this is hitting for. That is strictly the reason in this deck. Now, a deck that doesn't really use its mana pips on things on the battlefield constantly, like Iris Stroma. Iris Stroma, you're running red because you really don't get benefit out of the extra pips the way that deck is designed. But in this deck, the more pips we have, the better. So, there. We're running 2 blue, 1 yellow Raging Onslaught. So I talked to you guys last video how this was technically not intended originally. It was because I didn't have a 3rd blue Raging Onslaught, as I thought I did, so I had to run a yellow. And then I accidentally found out, oh, the yellow is a popper, and that seems good. And then it, again, is a yellow, so at the rare minimum, you can have a turn with just a yellow as long as you have a counter on one of your items. And I think that has been pretty underrated. Like, this card comes out of nowhere, because people expect the Command and Conquers, they expect the Fyndal's Fighting Spirit. They don't expect the yellow Raging Onslaught, so when they're looking at, okay, he's already used 2 Command and Conquerors Pauper and all 3 Fenris Fighting Spirits Paupers. He has 1 more Pauper in the deck, and then you come out Raging Onslaught. They're like, oh. And the fact that it's yellow, and then maybe see you pitch a blue at some point. Now they don't know realistically how many Paupers you have, right? I think that's amazing. Another cool thing about this card, it's a 3 for 6, just like CNC. So this is another card you can mix into your turn cycles to really up the damage. Remembrance. I added a second Remembrance for this tournament because I suspected a lot of Icelander and Odom. Unlike other people, a lot of other people did not suspect a lot of Icelander and Odom, and I end up being very correct. Not in the numbers, it's just the conversion rate of those heroes, and these did help. Not in the sense that I used both in a match, but it was like if I had to pitch one, I still had one because I can't draw my. I faced 5 draw my last 5 rounds, by the way. There were times where I had to pitch one, and normally I would not see that for many turns. But then a few turns later, I drew one, and I got to put all my 3 Paupers back in the deck. And that play right there just sealed the fact that I'm running 2. 3 Spark of Genius, get your items out. It's a block 3. Not much more to say about that. I went down to 2 Springboard Somersaults for this. I did not think the third was necessary. This is also your worst direct by a very large margin. The only thing that helps this out is that it's a yellow and not a red. If this was a red, block 2 and then gain 2, I think this would not make the cut. But the fact that it's yellow means you at least can again have a turn with something. But its only real value is from the arsenal. There's very few times where you play this from hand and you feel really good about it. Maybe you can accidentally just get someone because I think there's 2 damage about to leak over, but I promise it doesn't actually come up that often. That's how you got Staple Defense Reaction. Amazing card. Love it. Brutal Assault, quickly becoming one of our favorite cards in the deck purely because it has no text. And people are like, why is he running this? And the fact that I'm eventually going to top 8 with this deck, and Brutal Assault being in my deck feels absolutely amazing. But no, seriously, what this is a blue block 3. So the philosophy of this deck, blue card, block 3. That's all we care about. Everything else is just a plus. And this is another card we can mix into our turn cycles. We can pitch a blue, put a counter on our pistol, shoot pistol, give it go again, swing 4. 8 down turns our 4 damage turn to a 6 damage turns, which every 2 damage kind of helps there. Last ditch effort. This card just means you will win the late game, almost guaranteed. If you're both getting down to your pitch deck and you have like 10 cards left, and you still have 2, sometimes even 3 of these, it is almost as guaranteed you win the game. I would love to see the person that can take 8 go again late game and live to tell the tale that they somehow won that game. McNock Shockwave, it's a blue block 3, deals 4. It's the same formula for all of our cards. 2 blue Overloop. The unique property this has, and a lot of control dashes weren't running this until I added this to my deck, and this just felt like a no-brainer to add. The big thing, again, blue block 3. Now this actually comes with a on hit that is not obviously powerful. Because you're like, oh, it just puts at the bottom of the chain when the combat, when chain link ends. You're like, yeah, that's insane. And they're like, how? So let me paint you a scenario. You're going against a drum mine, they have an Ashwing out. And normally, would you really want to send an attack at an Ashwing rather than an item? But what you can do is you can load all your items. Instead of shooting your items and losing those counters, you can just send Overloop at it. It doesn't say have to hit a hero, it just says has to hit. Whatever it hits, you get the card back. And now you're still keeping counters on your items. You see what I'm saying here? It's really powerful, especially late game. When this comes, people are going to be like, oh, both people are close to decking. If I let this hit, he just gets a free card back in my way, so they lose a card. It's a win-win. Either they block it and lose a card, or B, you don't damage and keep the card. There's no downside there. Payload. Say it with me. Blue, block 3, comes in for 4. I'm going to make a song out of that one day. Alright, we got another blue block 3 here. Difference is this one helps you filter. This one, along with Whisper of the Oracle, just allows you to see more cards and just control what's in your hand. Pretty simple. This runs on me. Permanently on there for Fi and Drumeye. But you know what it also is? It's a blue, block 3. There's actually also times the draw does extremely help. Especially on turn 1. I think the most busted time to play this is turn 1, actually against any deck. So what you can specifically do, and the more people do this play, the more people will catch on and maybe play around it, is if you load up your items and shoot 2, people are going to be like, aha, I get to filter. Got them. They're going to lose a card in their hand. You're going to be like, cool. This round's on me. They get the card back. They get what they wanted. They filtered. But now they start their turn with the this round's on me effect and play for pretty much for free real estate. I think it's one of the most insane turn 1 plays in the whole entire game. Throttle, say it with me. It's a blue, block 3, comes in for 4. Say it with me. It's a blue, block 3. Actually, it just comes in for 3. But still, pretty much the same principle as you guys can see. You can see the philosophy of how we built this deck and how we look for certain cards. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the way this deck came out. Going into the tournament, I have no regrets on any deck building decisions I made. The only go I had was just to make sure that I was mixing in my attacks well, which is why I added the Raging Onslaughts back to the deck and stuff like that, and again just the way these cards were made. So there was a long time where these cards were never anything but blue block 3s. Like this attack value never actually mattered. But then the more I played the deck and started thinking about other strategies, how to increase my EV with the deck, I started actually caring about that bottom thing on the left. And it started winning more games and started making unwinnable games very, very winnable. And I just wish this is something I knew sooner. So the big thing I kind of want to talk about is the additions that I'm thinking about. These are not cards that are confirmed to be in the deck. These are cards I am genuinely just thinking about, and I will kind of give my reasoning. Strategic planning. So what this says is put an action card for two or less from the graveyard to the bottom of your deck. At the beginning of your end phase, draw a card. This pretty much just makes this to where we have more remembrances. Right? And the fact that we can use all of our cards on our turn, draw, and possibly actually have a decent arsenal. So, because remember, it's triggers, arsenal, then pass. So the trigger to draw this card is going to happen first. And let's just say we draw a D-React. Let's say we Fate Proceed on our last turn. We see we had D-React on top. Well, now we strategic planning. We get to draw the card at the end of the turn, put an arsenal, and draw back up. It is an absolutely beautiful thing. And just helping us recur our items. It helps recur our items. It helps recur our CNCs. It actually cycles back into a Warhorn if it becomes relevant. You never know, because we do play things like Spark of Genius to shuffle our deck. It could theoretically help us see it sooner. It cycles back our healing cards. There's pretty good merit to this deck. And the only reason it's not immediately in the deck now is because it's just the opportunity cost is the card I'm putting in has to be equal to or greater than the card I'm taking out. So let's say I put in strategic planning. What card am I replacing that its current value in the deck is less than the strategic planning? You know what I'm saying? That's what we have to figure out. And I'll be doing a lot of brainstorming about that because I have till late April for Pro Tour Baltimore to decide how I want to configure this deck. So I have some time, and we'll be doing lots of labbing. Next card we're looking at is Vipox. This is a card that I tried, I want to say about a month or two ago to put in. If you guys came into some of my live streams, I wanted to make Vipox work, and I think that outside of Benji and Blitz, I was like, if there's a CC deck that could actually make this work, I think it would be this, because it does fit the criteria of being a block 3. And this is a really weird card. So you play Vipox, right? And your opponent has a full grip. Well, they say this is just 1 damage, that's fine. Well, no, it's actually 5 damage. Because if this hits and they do not block with a card, well, now they lose life equal to the cards you can. So they're not going to lose 4. So now it's a 0 for 5. And let's just use the point system here. Because that's how most cards are made. It's 1, 2, 5. This is a 5-point card. Not really great. But now we make this 5. We go 1, 6, 9. So now this card's above rate. Because the average card is 8. Like I can use, let me try to find an example here. Alright, Raging Onslaught. We go 3, 8, 11, 8. If you guys don't know what this formula is, you take the pitch, you take the power, you take the defense, you add these together, you minus the pitch. Or how much the card costs. So let's do it again. 3, 8, 11, 8. We can use this with another card. CNC's is going to be 1, 7, 10, 8. Now, obviously, if cards have text in them, that changes things a little bit, but you guys kind of get the formula. Let's do it one more time. Findle Fighting Spirit. 2, 8, 10, 7, but it has something in here, so you add 1 to it. Brutal Assault. 3, 7, 10, 8. This card here will now become above rate if their opponent does not block. Because again, 1, we're going to say this is 5. So 1, 6, 9, stays at 9. The only issue is this card realistically it adds a red to the deck, which is not something that's fantastic. It's most likely placing a red or a yellow. Because like there's no world where I think this plate replaces a blue. Like this card specifically is the thing placed in the blue. So finding room for it is going to be hard. It most likely will not make the final cut because there's a reason it hasn't made the final cut before. But it is something I am considering yet again. We have Wounded Bull. It's another one of those cards that's playing the numbers game. Because again, we can go 1. We'll say we're lesser in life. 1, 9, 11, 8. Because without it, it's not really a great card. It's below rate. But you're playing that numbers game by being low in life. But the issue is there's not a lot of times you're lower in life. But what this still does is this allows us to still mix in a very big attack. Because that's the philosophy we started using. We started actually like using these attacks more. We started putting counters on our pistol, shoot it, go again, throw an actual attack. Because again, we're not going to fatigue. And a lot of times, most of them are 2, so we could have 1 extra floating. This just cleanly is 3, but it's also 3 more damage than the attacks that we're usually throwing. Because most of our attacks are 4. Imagine if we're lower in life. This now is 8. That's 4 more damage on average. Something else says it's another red. It's a block 2. I might try it out, but again, we would have to probably change our philosophy again. We actually might take out healing cards, which that doesn't really feel great. Because it's one of the building blocks of our deck is the life gain and the effective health we have, but it is still a consideration. More yellow Raging Onslaughts, actually, because this has become one of my favorite cards in the deck. For the exact same reasons as other cards I've stated earlier. Will we make the final cut and add more? Probably not. But who knows? Because like I said, there are some blues in here that like maybe are kind of medium. Like I said, Springboard Somersault is our worst direct. Maybe we take out those to fit in more Raging Onslaughts. Currently undecided, but I think it's worth considering. Tome of Findo is a card that, again, I have tried to fit into the deck, and I actually was liking it in the deck. I just unfortunately could not get enough testing in with it to want to make a decision. Because playing this card from Arsenal is absolutely bonkers. Now, the only downside is it will use our action point. But I think we just treat this as a 1-cost healing card. And in that context, I think it's pretty good. It also helps us dig. But it would have to be a thing where we go shoot pistol, give it go again, load counters on it, Tome of Findo. That play pattern's like fine. Doesn't impress me a lot because we'd rather just most likely do other stuff. But maybe we can find spots for it. Maybe we can find spots. Who knows? Because like I said, there was a time where Odoms used this for the exact same reason we're wanting to use this. We'll figure something out. Hard to Find Out is a card I took out of the deck because it felt unnecessary, because we are really lower in life than our opponent. But it is still a consideration to be put back in the deck, as is just a blue in just a case that we are put through a lot of aggression, we can slowly gain the life back up. And because we do play shuffle effects, we can see this more often than not in a game. I'm going to already tell this, I'm going to add the third overloop into the deck. There's almost no reason it has not been in the deck. I think the 2 is just trying to be cute, but there is no shot that I register this again without running the third overloop. Pursuit of Knowledge is something similar to Tome of Findell, but instead of using the slot for life gain, we're using it for power, but we're trying to get additional cards into our hand as usual. Yep, sorry about that. But yeah, it's just a awkward attack. And especially if our opponents don't really know what we're on, they might be really scared and block this, which is exactly what we would want. We're going to take 2 cards from them for one of our worst cards in the deck. And you can get your really cool play patterns like pitch a blue, put a counter on pistol, counter counter on chamber, shoot pistol for 2, give it go again, we'll have 1 floating. And then our World's Carnival Oyster, we can like Tunic, Pursuit of Knowledge, we can put a counter on pistol, pitch a blue, put a counter on chamber, 2 floating, Pursuit of Knowledge. So now we keep counters on our pistols, and now we throw an attack. And it's similar to the philosophy for the rest of our cards, 2 for 4s. So the only downside is, again, it's a block 2. Like if it was a block 3, then I don't even think there would be a question if it'd be in the deck. But every piece of block does matter, especially when it comes to on hits. So fine. All right, so the thing you guys are gonna think I'm trolling with this one. I know. So the reason why this card specifically was considered is that the Icelander matchup and the Wizard matchup in general is tough. Okay, let me rephrase. The matchup is not tough. Sideboarding is tough, because if you look at if I sort this by pitch, right? So I sort by pitch. Let's say we're going against Icelander. Well, what are the cards we would love to take out? Well, we would love to take out 3s. That's all you got. We would love to take out 3. That's 5. We would love to take out Fighting Spirits. That's 8. That's 11. That's 14. That's, wait, not these. Sorry, so that's 17. That's 20. There's 20 cards, probably 21 to 23 cards we would love to take out. But, like, we don't have the ability to do that. We just don't. So, if there was a way where we had cards in our deck that we could put in, you know, so we don't have to run all those reds, that'd be good. And this is a blue block 3. Like, it has literally no other text, and I'm not even sure it probably is true. But for the philosophy that we're going for in the deck, it actually works, weirdly enough. Now, what would I even take out? Because I might actually have to take out cards physically in the deck just to be able to register this. And off the top of my head, it would probably be like, take out 2 Springboard Somersaults. But like, then it's like, is the best option putting 2 Titanium Bubbles in there? Because that still really doesn't solve anything. And it's like, I don't want to take out my Poppers in with Command and Conquer and Finding Spirit. I don't want to take any of those numbers out of the deck. Do I want to take out any of the D-Rex? Not really. Maybe this is actually the situation where a card like Healing Bomb might actually just be taken out. Like, genuinely, it might be time to take out Healing Bomb. And I know I said earlier in the video there's no reason I would take this out. If I find the Icelander matchup just that close, and I think this is the reason why it's close, because we do have to run some amount of reds, then I might actually just take out Healing Bomb. Because if our turn is remove a card from our hand to attempt to gain 3, our Icelander opponent kind of has free reign to do whatever. Unless we have like 3 other cards in our hand, then it's probably fine. But rarely are we in that situation because Icelander plays on both turns. It's a big consideration, and again, I think it's most likely gonna not make the cut, then make the cut. But I do want to kind of show you guys what I am thinking. So that is going to be the video when it comes to Control Dash in Indianapolis and going forward. I obviously will update the actual deck whenever I do make those choices. And I'll probably just make a post. I don't know if I'll make a full video about the changes. You guys can kind of see what I'm thinking of, and if you guys want to make the changes yourself, you guys have the things that I'm thinking about. If you guys enjoyed this video and you guys are on YouTube, make sure you guys like, favorite, and subscribe. Comment down below what you guys want to see. Your feedback is always appreciated. If you guys ever do watch me on Twitch, follow the channel. Subscribe when I hit that button. We're going for 3 million subscribers, and that can only be helped because of you. It's been your boy Simon from Siphon TCG. I'll see you guys next time. Peace!